day, and it was on October 10th. It led me to thinking, why are we celebrating a day, and what is mental health about? Is it a part of health, or it is something different? How do we know whether we are a part of, or we are also affected by mental health? There were certain statistics which mentioned that 1 in 5 person today is grappling with a mental issue. But in our context, in our growing up years, we have usually made fun of about being mentally troubled. And in fact, we ourselves are not very clear what are the lines to know whether we are suffering from it, and if we are, what are the solution to it. While the discussion has been a lot about mental health, the criticality is such that country like India, which has a youth around 65% of young India today, grapples with such issues which affect them mentally. Many speak out, many don't speak out. Now the question is, why am I, or what this episode is talking about? This episode is talking about careers where, as a career, as a professional, you manage the mental health of a person. Now, I am not very sure that what exactly it is. Is it like a doctor? Is it like a psychiatrist? Or is it like even an artist, even comedians? Many times I've seen many people kind of credit various stand-up artists saying that you make us feel very happy. So is it mental health is about being happy, or is it about many other small details which in a regular life we are unable to trace? Now, today we have a guest and a very good friend of mine, Mr. Arvind, and he is a mental health practitioner. But I am not going to be a counseling kind of a show today. I would rather urge my guest, Mr. Arvind, to speak about what made him choose as a practitioner of mental health, and what made him choose this line of profession. How did he become a practitioner? Was it a career choice? Because 20 years back, I understand in India, in world, mental health wasn't spoken the way it is spoken today. So let me first introduce and welcome my guest, Mr. Arvind.
Thank you, Abhilash.
Hi, hi Arvind,
Hi.
and thank you for taking the time out. I know you had a busy schedule, and we had to do it very quickly. So thank you again, and
Pleasure.
squeezing in your time. And best part about is that today the career talking we are talking about something which is being spoken about in every aspect. May it be film industries, may it be in the professional life of working people, or maybe every day in the news I see about some article about mental health. Many people are talking about government to put a budget on mental well-being. And as a country where yoga is born, meditation is spoken about, this becomes a very critical issue when India starts claiming that there are youngsters suffering from or are victim of mental health. So today's journey or today's story is all about how you began on a practice of mental health and what you have been putting effort, and in fact know more about it from you. So I
Great.
welcome you.
Yes. Thank you. Um, well, it's interesting how you mentioned yoga and then sort of led to mental health because a very important aspect of being a yogi or a yoga practitioner is swadhyaya, self study, contemplation, and I think that's very much a part of being mentally healthy. As a practice. Um, my journey my journey has been interesting because I started off as as a computer science engineer, and eventually I never worked in the corporate to begin with. I began in social service, and I was doing social projects with an organization called ISEC. So I was with them for 6 years, led projects in South Africa, then Mauritius. Then I was like, okay, fine, let me see what it is like to be in a corporate. and then that led me to one startup to another startup to another startup, and it wasn't really rewarding the way I thought it was rewarding. And I had issues with my employers. I did not know what was the problem, but somehow every time I worked with someone, be it even in the NGO I was working with, or otherwise after the NGO when I was working at start different startups, I somehow had a beef with the had a problem with an authority figure. Not just that, but also my relationships. I had different power dynamics playing out in my relationships, and I wasn't really sure, and the similar pattern was repeating. And at the same time, I was getting off the company. I was getting off relationship, going crazy, getting into intoxication as a means to cope with it. And to a point where I worked with one of the most spoken startups in a negative sense. And I was like, okay, fine, I don't think corporate is for me. I went on a sabbatical, and I'm like, I don't think I'm made for making money. I don't really care if this is what it takes for me to make money. Doing something unethical, working in such environment, just working in front of a box, no human interaction. And I felt like this is not for me. Like, I just felt very isolated. And um that led me to different ashrams, going around, just exploring different ashrams. That led me to yoga, that led me to meditation, that led me to vipassana. um, and eventually I started teaching people yoga. And in that process of teaching people yoga, I also realized that as a part of being a yoga teacher, um, in my interaction with my students were really helping them solve some of their problems in life, because at the end of the class or the beginning of the class, somehow or the other, we have these small conversations. And then one thing led to another. My mom also saw that I was good in communicating with people, and people were coming and going, and she could see that there is something in me that is giving them some solution. Then she's like, there is someone I know, someone has asked me to asked me to suggest this person to you, so why don't you go meet her? And she's my trainer today. I'm so grateful that I met her in 2018, and then for me to be her trainee, I had to have a master's degree. I had to have a base degree of psychology, and for me to be, yeah, her trainee. So then that led me to doing my master's. And then I did another postgraduate diploma. I'm doing my second diploma with her now, in TA. And that's basically what led me here. A way to heal myself, or a way to find solutions for myself, that was also like working out for others, led me to psychology. And now I've sort of given up the idea of looking elsewhere to figure out what I want to do, but to just focus on, okay, fine, this is what has come to me. I'm going to do the best I can. I'm going to keep studying, keep pursuing my my training, my specialization. And I'm working with supervision, which means I record my sessions, and once every 2 weeks I have supervision, where any problem I have with any client where I feel I can do something better, I take it for supervision, which is I take the audio recording, take off the identity of the client, and ask questions to my trainer, and then based on that get myself verified.
Arvind, I have a question over here before
Yes,
you go. And I understand you
go
spoke
ahead.
about your current engagement and current way of being, what you're practicing, and your teacher and your mentor. So there were few mentions which I want to highlight, because we
Yeah,
are talking about career. And career, I'm sure you would also agree to the point, it's a journey. It's not a one time or destination kind of a stage.
yeah,
You mentioned you started off with a computer science degree, and then you had a development kind of a side, social
yeah,
contribution kind of a thought, and you went to doing that. Then you mentioned about some relationship, you mentioned about money, then you mentioned about some startup, then you mentioned about your healing of your own solutions. And then that's how you created a package for things that you know maybe you may be a solution provider, and then it to the psychology training and then your masters and things, which I understood broadly in your thing. But I want to know, before everything started, Arvind, as a kid, your elder or a younger sibling, or what is your, as a family structure,
Yeah.
Arvind as a friend in your school life, in your college life, Arvind as a, in your teenager and
Yeah.
in your current life age, what you are in. Why I'm asking this question is, uh, at every point of life, some my mental thoughts occupy us, which becomes very big priority.
Yeah.
When you are in, I can give a small analogy. When you are in class 10th in India, 10th grade, we have a board examination, and you find it as an exam, another exam, like in every class. But the society makes you feel that this is the
Yeah. This
only
is the
exam which
exam.
will define you out of your age.
Yeah.
And you, from a half pant wearing boy, you will become a full pant wearing man, boy or a man or teenager. You'll prove your worth,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Now, this is not narrative which is made by me. This
Yeah.
is a narrative which usually all the Indian kids go through, and then you enter into a world of study or academics where push of the society is given to you by saying certain things, 10, then 12, then your graduation, then your, however it goes.
Yeah.
I feel is not self driven. It is driven by, or kind of path created by somebody else. Might be your mentor, might be a very good faculty teacher, or maybe your parents, or maybe your elder sibling, or somebody who's gone. So I want a journey, or if you can, share us the story
Beautiful.
where
Yeah.
all those turning points of your life, because
Yeah.
I see a whole lot of thing. You spoke your world in 2 minutes about many things, but let's
Yeah.
go a little slower and at one phase.
Yeah.
Maybe you can start with your teenage phase and your school phase, and then we can build
So
upon.
this is getting a little deeper now.
Yeah.
Right. Uh, in this layer, I would say, broadly speaking, it took me 30 years to understand that I have the decision making power for my life. It took me 30 years. For 30 years, I was making decisions based on what others would be happy to see. As a kid, I was brought up that way. Um, even even consequences of that, or the way of parenting, even that is alive even in my parents now, in their parents now. The way of, sort of, in a way, keeping youngsters in control, or younger people in control. So that is how I was brought up. But somehow my brother learned from looking at my younger brother learned from looking at my um, dependency, and he just did not want to be like me. So that led him to becoming much more independent, and even like my parents were able to see that me growing dependent on them was like I wasn't performing as well, and the energy was like very, very dull growing up, even though, yeah. So it was like a very people pleasing person I was growing up to be, and my brother was not, which I'm really happy about. So somehow they loosened the grip for my brother, and they tightened the grip for me, because they had to hold on to someone, you know. So growing up, that's how I was brought up, which I realized much later in life, that this
So,
this has
yeah,
affected me in
30
different ways.
years, 30
Yeah,
years it took you
yeah,
uh, you mean to say that mentally be a decision for yourself
yeah,
without convincing or seeing what somebody would think about, or
yeah.
having a people pleasing kind of 30 years.
30
So
years.
yeah, so your happy birthday became on 30th year, that you
Yeah,
realize that that
yeah.
is your
100%.
actually your own life, right?
100%. Yes.
So
That's when I
what
was
was the
born.
trigger? How did that trigger happen? What made you realize that day? And what was the trigger, and any incident, any special situation scenario where you
I
felt
mean,
you're
therapy really
rejecting
has
yourself?
helped,
Yeah.
because it's not just one instance when I realize, oh shit, I have not been making decision for myself. No, it has been a pattern that I noticed in retrospect when I was talking to my therapist, about this pattern of how I enter a relationship, how I leave a relationship. I enter as a giver, and I used to leave as a victim. मैंने इतना दे दिया, I've given you so much and you have not reciprocated. So I increase my demands. I'm forced to stand up. And then even after that, when you don't reciprocate, I'm like, go to hell. Let me go. You're not for me. And the same pattern was playing out with my employers. Same with, different startups I was working with, small or big or medium or whatever. And when I was reflecting on this with my therapist, I'm like, okay, so where is this coming from? And then this one question came up where, what so when I so yeah so when I realized that this has been the pattern, I had the choice to break free from the pattern. Because I was asking myself, why do I have to be the giver in a relationship? Why is it so important for me to be a giver? Which means, for me to be a giver, I had to find people who are craving for energy, who are craving for attention, who are craving for some kind of, who are craving for givers in their life, right? Now they are playing the victim role, be it as an employer, be it as a, so I was attracting victims all my life. And when I realized, oh my god, shit, this is not helping me. Everybody is equal, everybody is okay as we are, you know but our games, our patterns, our roles that we play have become just so important for us that we get into these dialogues, we get into these dramas inside a relationship. So that was probably the turning point. Through therapy, those phases were coming clear to me.
One of the very uh, very intellectual thing what you mentioned was the you used a word called pattern,
Yeah.
and the therapist helped you to make you understand that there is a pattern which is happening in every form of
It
engagement
was
which you are
common
doing.
pattern. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, everywhere, that is your professional, or so it has become a part of your personality, like
It had.
and I have read a couple of books on the universe and things like that. You attract many
Yeah.
times, whatever is your mindset, you attract that kind of people around, and you attract that kind of energies. So when
100%.
you are, as you mentioned, when you are a giver, so I'm sure the intention to be or follow that pattern made you circumvent around such people, such companies, only such
Yeah.
kind of one similar pattern kind of people coming, or
Yeah.
organization coming, and it is ending into a same result, that is you getting off without getting anything and dissatisfied and things like that. And
Yeah.
that realization or that pattern was broken once you went to therapy
Once I
and
was become
realized that
aware.
there is a, yes,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
there is a pattern. So
Yes.
I think one strong message to all the youngsters who are looking at it currently, I always see one word that they always say, that confusion.
Hmm.
What are you doing? Sir, I'm confused. What is the next step? I'm confused. This ambiguity or confusion or
Yeah.
managing uncertainty.
Yeah.
With your today's talk, I realized that it is within us only, because if you
Yeah.
can see the pattern, that confusion itself will be a little helpful in becoming more clearer in your next any uncertain activity which is coming.
Yeah. Yeah. I see it slightly from a psychological point of view. Uh, Look at it as, let's look at our confusion as us being a child who does not know what to do. Hmm? There's the child in us. There's an inner self which wants, which has all these desires, but does not know how to achieve them, how to get their hands dirty. So the child is confused. So there is also a decision making body, the parent, inside inside our body, our mind, our psyche, which is guiding us. Sometimes that parent also is confused. The parent does not know what to do, but because the parent does not want to admit to the child that the parent is confused, the parent disappears. The child remains confused and goes around asking people, can you please save me, can you please be my parent? That's
Right.
where the problems come. That's where women are like, I can't mother you. Many people in relationship have a problem with,
Yes.
they say, daddy issues or mother's boy, mama's boy. All of this is this parent and child, us not being able to take control of our own life.
True.
That, yeah. So just even if there is a confusion, the parent, the decision making body in us needs to own up that confusion and just go ahead with life. Okay, fine, let's figure it out. We will figure it out. What's the worst that can happen?
Fantastic. Actually, it's a very insightful. I actually started the conversation more on the mental health side and thinking about how critical it is. But now that you've spoken about the psychic side of it, now that you've spoken about that exact pattern which happens to most of us, it happens at every phase of life or stage of
Sure,
life.
definitely.
Yeah, and it needs someone. Now here it was therapist or your friend or your someone who can actually help you become yourself,
Yeah,
not dependent, but be independent on thinking or making a decision.
yeah,
So you're 30 years, and that can be achieved at any year, not exactly at
yeah.
30 years, at however, uh, uh, how fast or how sooner you realize your pattern or the way
There
you.
is nobody is waiting for us with a deadline. Whenever we
True.
realize we are born, uh,
Right, right,
till then
right.
we are sleeping. It's like Vishnu. From Vishnu you become Shiva. Just that transition.
So I one more thought after looking at your journey. I realized that you quickly mentioned many challenges, many ups and downs. Okay, now these downs are the obstacles which I feel at that particular stage of life, when something is going wrong, something is very bad, or something is things look very dark, and you often get victim to it. You often get victim to it by any which way. Today you are very you're proudly telling the story because you became a victim, you overcame it, and now you know the whole pattern that it was a this thing happened, I went to intoxication, and this happened. You were very proudly saying it.
Hmm.
My question to you is, like, how do you stay motivated? Because I know the life is going to be up and down, and things like this will keep on happening. How do you stay motivated and overcome such obstacles in your particular field of life or field of career, if I want to relate it to your professional life today as well?
What is motivation?
So there are so many definitions of
What
speakers, but
in
I
what
would rather
context?
want to.
Yes. What context is motivation? Energy to do what is needed to be done.
True.
Mhm. We have that energy, no? We have that energy. It's just that sometimes we don't feel that energy is moving. So we sleep or we sit back on and we are on the phone, right? So the energy is sometimes active, and usually it is active and the body is moving. But most of us, our mind is moving, but the body is not moving. So there is a disconnect, which means we are giving constant information to our mind, but we are becoming a couch potato. Huh? So and then now that disconnect is the reason we are not motivated. We don't have movement. So I think just general 20 minutes, half an hour of movement every morning is good enough. Motivation one needs. Drive, yeah. Also, I think it's important to sleep well. Everybody talks about it. Hardly people do. But sleeping well also means sleeping on time. I mean, 12 o'clock we should be knocked out. That's the kind of sleep we need. uh, we can take that as a goal. Can I be deep sleep? Can I be completely asleep by midnight and I wake up whenever I want to? If I'm asleep in today's world, if I'm asleep by midnight, I'm very sure I'll wake up by 6 or 7, and that is a good time to sit, get the sunlight, you know just we all know this. spend time, have some plants around, maybe talk to them if you want, write a little bit. There's something called morning pages which has been really helpful for me. So that is something I would recommend. Most of the times we are carrying really heavy thoughts and we don't know how to release them, and we don't believe in therapy or whatnot. We don't believe in talking to someone else, so we should write. I think it's important that we use this concept of morning pages. 3 pages every morning you write whatever you want, and that has also helped me stay
No, no,
light
I want to
throughout
ask
the
here
day.
one question.
Yeah.
Arvind of today, speaking to Arvind of age 15 years. Okay. What is
Hmm.
the advice?
Yeah.
15 years or 16 years, exactly that transformative years.
16 years would be, yeah, 15 years I was in 10th standard. 16 years I was in 11th. 16 years is a good
Yeah,
Arvin to talk
16,
to.
17. You're just
Yeah.
leaving the school or whatever.
Yeah.
You're first venturing into, you becoming a, taking own decision, going biking or taking years around adolescent type of years where I don't know to describe that phase. What exactly the kind of advice would you give today? Today's Arvind would give to that age Arvind, so that things would have been better for him for the next journey. What would have been like?
Yeah. I would apologize to him. He's a really lonely guy. He's lonely, traumatic childhood, parents who don't know how to support him emotionally. They were always overgiving in different ways, overgiving in silence or overgiving in love or service. So just a really lonely person uh, who did not have role models. So I would apologize to that Arvind uh, for his situation. It's not his fault, and he's not to be blamed. It's just hard luck, tough luck, tough luck that you didn't meet good people who were good role models, who taught you, who stayed with you through through building you. You know, I'm sorry. I wish you had come across good teachers. I wish you had come across good friends, and who showed you how to be healthy, who showed you how to actually express yourself, not just fake it, but actually be vulnerable. I really wish that you had met people, the right people, who uplifted your energy than suppressed your energy or criticized or bashed your energy. Because that is a really a lot damage done. Um, and like you, there are many people who are suffering because they don't have role models. And I apologize on 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 behalf of the world.
But how do you? It's a very interesting
So the
conversation.
only motivation I can give, yeah, I can give the only motivation is that hope that there are good people, hope that there are people worth trusting. Just keep the hope alive.
Would you
Keep the hope
suggest
alive where,
reading any book,
yeah,
any book, or would you suggest him to read any book? Or
just read, reading any book, just reading any book is good enough. I wasn't reading anything. Reading for me, that 15-year-old Arvind, reading was associated with scoring marks. That's it. Reading was not associated with knowledge. So reading is such a humbling act. Reading means I don't know, so I look down and I look at her and I look at these words and I'm learning. That is such a humbling act.
I
Just go follow your heart. Yeah.
yeah. Another question coming out from the same query.
Yeah.
You said role model. How do you find a role
Yeah.
model or decide at that age, especially? What do you
Yeah.
what is your
So
thought which
difficult.
you can give today? Supportive thought for finding a role model.
It is quite difficult to find role models. Um, Usually we think role models are people who score well in school, or teachers who are most liked, but it's not true. It's not true at all. We need to have a sport We need to have a study. We need to have something that we are interested in, and we need to go on a search. We need to let go of everything. We need to just let our intuition guide us. Now, we don't know what intuition means. We need to feel empowered when we meet someone. We need to feel like, oh wow, I can do something. That is the role model. When we meet someone who, just being around them or talking to them or practicing with them, my badminton teacher was a role model. My taekwondo teacher was a role model. I discontinued taekwondo, saying I need to focus on badminton, and my badminton teacher passed away after school. um and I've had really bad role models in school. I mean, teachers having their own trauma, releasing their trauma on kids, and it was not good. It was not good. So yes, it is difficult to have role models, but music, there are so many ways of experimenting, whether I like this teacher or not. Till then, keep experimenting. Go for skating classes, go for, violin class, whatever, singing class, whatever makes sense to you. You will find a role model when you meet them. Once you meet them, just surrender to them. Whatever is going on, just keep learning, keep practicing, keep learning, keep practicing, and you will learn everything in life.
Great.
You just need one role model.
You mentioned a surrender to them and just follow or keep practicing. That's a very good advice. But one more word keyword which you mentioned in your thing was being lonely. And today, I've read in various reports, we are all a part of a digital crowd in a social media, doing very good things in social media, projecting ourselves to be very lively about many things, Instagramming or WhatsApping or putting a status on any new thing, amusement. But there is a loneliness of in-person meeting. There is, I don't know, I may be wording it wrong, but it is also considered that spending so much time on uh, social media is also a sign of feeling lonely, or trying. I may not have the right words, but that is also a sign of showing your
Yeah,
poor state of mind. As a mental health practitioner, now
yeah,
I would want you to talk on these lines as well,
yeah,
because somewhere you reflected that in
yeah,
your own career journey as well.
yeah, yeah. There is one part that is missing in your narrative, which is what could, like, what is loneliness. Loneliness is when we feel we are the only one and we are separate from everyone, right? uh, and especially on social media, we are looking at a screen and we are judging the hell out of everything that we see. Whatever we like, whatever we share, whatever. Maybe some of us are using it for educational purposes and whatnot. um, but even with friends, right, in today's world, from my age itself, like from 25, 30 years from since then, this whole process of when we are meeting a community, when we are meeting a bunch of people, how authentic are we, how true are we in our interactions with them? Our conversations about cars and bikes and girls and dating and, all of the, is that the only conversation we are having? Or is anything personal shared? Are we do we have the courage to come out clean, saying, yes, this is what I'm dealing with, this is what is happening at home, right? Now, if we are able to have such an open conversation with at least one friend, we are less lonely compared to the 99% of the world. Hmm? Now the problem is, are we having that one friend? That is the sad situation we are in, where we need to pay money to people like me to actually feel heard, which is shit, which is just really bad, right? Now, having said that, This is reality. People don't have even their partner to listen to them, because the partner is having their own trauma playing out. So loneliness is quite real, and hence it's important to write. It's important to talk to yourself once in a while. It's important to actually talk to others, trusting that whether they reciprocate or not, my intention is to actually release whatever is coming out towards them, you know rather than me asking them questions so I can judge them. No, I let myself be judged. It's okay. And I will see if someone really cares. I will know in their response that they care or not. So, by me being vulnerable, I can actually start selecting those gems, those people I need, whom I can call my friends.
Great. Arvind, now we are coming towards our closure of our conversation today. But
Yeah,
I have a special section where I speak about, we'll talk instantly, maybe for 1 minute or not more than that.
yeah,
So there are a few questions. I'll ask the question and you can be impromptu, and within a minute you need to close, or however, or lesser, not more than that.
okay, yeah, yeah.
If you could, I start. If you could put a title to your chapter of life, the phase you mentioned about transformative phase, what will be the title of that chapter
Waiting,
and why?
waiting for a green light,
And why is that?
because I was not ready. I was not ready to accelerate myself. So I was waiting for someone to tell me the light has turned green, go. And I realized nobody would ever do that for you in life. You gotta be the one handling your bike, and you gotta throttle it full whenever you want. Just go for it. Don't keep waiting. Nobody is gonna give you a green light.
Waiting. So we consider that as the title. Now, then, my second question:
Yeah,
any five advices you want to give to the teenagers or who are going to become graduate, or want to face the world, where this, one place is where you give your fees and you go for learning. Another place is you go to a professional and they give you a salary. So there's a whole change of structure of thinking and mind happens. Money management, many things happen. Many thoughts, new thoughts
yeah,
come. What are the five advices in any perspective? I wouldn't want you to only speak about
yeah,
the mental side of it. Anything which you feel you
yeah,
want to speak about.
yeah. I mean, have values. Simple. I mean, what are the simplest way of living life? Speak the truth. Don't take what is others. Don't take what is not given to you. Speak the truth. Write. Write your truth to the paper without having the intention to read it again, but just communicate with the sheet of paper. Just write. Play. Play in life. Play at work. Play with relationships. Play on the road. Do anything. Just play on the street. Play on the ground. Play on the sheet art. Play. Whatever is playful. Play. And have that curiosity going. And if you find something that resonates with your heart, don't let that go. Always keep practicing how to engage the heart, which means if I'm happy playing badminton, always have my badminton racket ready. Always go once in a while, just go play. So yeah, and in this writing, when you're writing every day, you will know what you are lacking, what you are not lacking, and you will be able to then do the research, put in the work to learn that on your own. Be your own teacher. Be your own teacher. That is the biggest probably advice I will give you. Be your own teacher. Even if you find multiple teachers, you are still your biggest teacher.
Very considerable, well worded advice. One more or two more questions. Uh, First question is about how open can you be about your meeting your therapist or counselors if you want to take services from that? What is your thought about it? Because many people
100%,
don't want
100%.
to.
I mean, you can be as open as you want. It's confidential information. They can't, if they are a professional. Well, it's also important that you know whom you are meeting. Just don't meet any professional, any person who calls him a counselor or a therapist. You need to do your research, go through referral, go through people you know, and then that is a very good way of finding out if this person is working out for you. Also, you have the authority to cancel therapy at any point, which means day one you meet your therapist, you have an intro call with them, see how you are feeling. Are you able to resonate with what they are saying, or is it feeling like they are giving you advice? Don't take advice. I refrain from taking advice or giving advice. So it is because you asked me these questions. I'm forced to share all of these things. But people don't like that shit. Nobody likes to take advice. Nobody also. I mean, everybody is ready to give advice, but it doesn't work. Okay, so your therapist is not the one who's supposed to tell you what you should be doing. With the help of communicating with your therapist, you should be the one getting those answers from within. And if those answers are not coming, change your therapist.
Change your therapist is the right thing. My last question to
Yeah.
you is somebody who wants to become Arvind, because maybe career wise, professionally, what he or she should be doing to become or take a career like yours.
Firstly, everybody should find their own path. But if the path is mental health, if that is what you are referring to, then have a degree. Just do some degree, some sheet of paper that tells the world that you are a therapist. Okay. Or that you are a mental health certified something. Okay. Then specialize. Go attend different workshops. There are so many psychologists giving workshops on multiple topics. Attend workshops, keep attending workshops, whatever comes online, whatever offline. You will find out some teacher whom you want to be like. Okay. When you find them, then you ask what their path is and what is their advice. Be their trainee. You need to be trained. You can't just have a degree and start practicing. After the degree, your practice starts, zero level starts, foundation starts, and then the level one, which means even after your degree, even after your specialization, let's say NLP or CBT, or what I do is transactional analysis. There are so many different forms, ways of practicing therapy. While you are specializing, you will need to be supervised. Your trainer should be so good that no matter what material you take to them, they will be able to not just, they won't tell you what you should be doing, but they will ask you so many questions that you'll be forced to read more. They'll humble you. They'll bash your ego. You need people, and you need to be open to working with trainers like that, who don't
I think
just
that's
want to
a
please you. Yeah.
no, no. I think that's what one of the very key advices you mentioned, that you need to meet the professionals and then get inspired from them whether they suit your wife and they suit your journey, and then accordingly decide on your path, because mentorship or is very much required even as a professional therapist or practitioner to create
Yeah.
your own style of thing. I think that's very critical, and that's very important, not just in this career, in every career where there are practitioners, there are experts whom you can learn from. So, thank you very much. And one line in Tamil, I will say, "Romba romba nandri" for
ரொம்ப
being
நன்றி.
a part of being part of the career talk show.
Thank
And
you so
I'm
much.
very happy that we could have a good discussion around not just about a career about it, but also what leads to what, the pattern, the way of understanding one own self, discovering their own journey. And I think I'm very lucky to be a part of your audience to hear this out from your own journey and experiences, because uh, it somehow I could relate at every phase of life. I have had a similar thing. Maybe I did not have the right words which you were good at, you could explain them well, but yes, I mentioned that the happy birthday thing, or when you feel that you can take a decision, without thinking about whether it is pleasing or displeasing to anyone or anything. So those are certain phases, very very critical to know oneself, to take a path, and in every aspect of life, not just one career, or even if going to a restaurant and using a menu card to order in a group, whether you do.
100%.
Yeah, so I think I can put a lot of analogies to it to where I can, uh, from your knowledge what you shared today, I can relate it to many many situations and scenarios. Thank you so much for your time. Any last word you
Pleasure.
want to say for this particular session, so that after that we may
Uh,
close?
all good, all good. Just make sure you're smiling. Just make sure you're smiling. This is so important. So, no matter what is going on in the world, you can always smile. You can always be kind. You can always be kind. It's okay to feel. It's okay to touch your palm in your chest and actually breathe. It's okay. You don't have to put on masks. It's okay. Yeah, that's about
uh,
it.
thank thank you, Arvind. Thank you for your time, and we will be inviting you again and again for various other topics, because you are the master of the core topic of knowing your oneself or knowing oneself. So I think with this journey of career and professions, there will be many stages where I would seek your time again and again. Please be kind to me on that.
Pleasure.
And
Pleasure.
your
Always.
availability.
Always. Thank you so much for this
Thank you so
platform.
much. Yeah.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Abhilash.